1, 2, 3. We are not live. We are not live, but we are alive, Gary, which is going to be part of our discussion today. More of that in a second. Hello, lovely Gary. How are you?
Hello, Rachel. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you very much. Hello, lovely YouTuber. If you are joining us right now, thank you so much for this tea time tutorial. If you have not seen us before, let me explain what happens. There will be time codes below. If you want to go straight to our crafty exercise, which is an exercise designed to give you a little break from life. It's just about mindfulness. It's just making marks. We're not trying to make you into the most incredible artist ever. It's about taking you out to a cool space, into a cool space, a calm space for about 20 minutes. If you want to crack on with that exercise, you can click the button below in the time code. If you want to stay with us, we're going to have a little chat now. We always do this every single tea time tutorial, and we talk about life's lessons and what they can teach us and different things in life that are happening. So if you're going to go off, enjoy yourself. We'll see you in a minute or two. Please do like our content if you can. We would love your like, we would love your subscriptions, we would love your notifications so you know when we're loading our content. It really helps to get the channel out there, and there are so many people who are loving the videos and finding them helpful that we would love to spread that word to other people. So if you do hit the like or write a comment, it really does help us. Right, see you in the art section if you're going. Bye. But if you're staying, let's have a little discussion, Gary. Right. So we always do this. So this week, I thought, tying in with our exercise we're going to do as well, that we would talk about grief. And that's not just someone when you lose someone who has died, but it can be when you lose a person in your life as well. It's grieving the loss of that person. And obviously, we just had Father's Day in the UK, and it was my first Father's Day without my father. And, you know, lots of emotions came up, and there were lots of tears, but there was lots of you know, nice memories as well. And it is about going through that grieving process. And I went onto Instagram and I was looking at various sites that help people with grief. And it was really interesting how people do deal with grief, but the stages that you have to go through as well. And I think that that's the same if it's a person that is still here, but you're no longer in contact, or if it's a person that has died. It is that grief. So I thought we could just talk about our own experiences and how we've navigated grief. I'll come to you first, Gary, so you can talk about your experiences and how you've navigated it.
Right, yeah. So I think I'm sure we've discussed this, and I have put this out there, you know, back in 2020, just as we were about to go into shutdown, lockdown here in March. I happened to lose my mother. And she hadn't been unwell. She was fit as a flea. She was in her early 80s. And she just, you know, just suddenly passed away of an aneurysm. And that is you have no time really to prepare. Though what was nice is that we had discussions, and Mum was getting older, and we had our sort of beliefs and everything. And, you know, she's like someone who's like, no, I don't want to become ill and linger. I just want to be one day here and one day gone. She said that was going to be a shock for you, but that's probably the nicest, kindest way for anyone to leave this planet.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a very strange time, because I think, as you are and I, you know, we are children of somebody, and usually that parent has been around most of our lives, be it with our other half, our other parent, or separated like yours. But there's always that parent there, and then they're not there. And the only way I could sum it up was like, when I learned to swim, it was my mum that I was more keen for her to hold my hands to get me to float in the water. I trusted her more than my dad. My dad would let me go, and next minute I'm under the water, but she would always hold me. And it was almost like she'd been holding me. I could swim, I could do all these things without her holding on to me. And then she let me go, and I had to swim in this world of this scenario, which is life. And that was quite daunting, quite frightening. And I, you know, just the grief period that happened then afterwards would come and go, flow and ebb. You know, you could be in the shower, having a shower, and suddenly this grief would come over you and you just have to cry. Or I'd be out for a walk, I'd go for a nice walk, and suddenly, like partway through the walk, it just, that grief would come over. Or I would feel actually that I was alone enough, or in the space, that I could just let go and cry. So that might be one of the key things that helped me get through that. But the other thing was that gradually because we were in that very strange environment of that lockdown, it was like we were shut down. It did give me the peace and the space to actually just not have to try and mask it and carry on in life. I just had to stop. I could read a book. I could look through things. I could just come and sit and think. And that was actually quite, it repaired me, or it just got me through, maybe a little bit quicker than perhaps some other people, that grief goes on for a very long time, not just months, years. And that's maybe, I don't know, that maybe that they thought straight after grief or during that grief, right, I just want life to be normal. I just want to get on with life. I just want to do the same things and just carry on with working or whatever. But actually they haven't given themselves time to grieve. And so my experience with this most recent grief is actually I gave myself time and I allowed myself to grieve. They're the two things that I think got me through that.
Yes, and you know, that's so important. I was going to pick up on that, Gary, when you said that about a minute ago. I really do believe the most important thing to do is to go with the feelings, let it flow, let it out. And as you say, grief is a very strange thing. I'd never experienced it until my dad died. It was the first big loss last year. And as you say, you can be in the supermarket, you can look at some cheese and remember eating that cheese with that person, and the feelings, it's just like overwhelm, you know. And as you say, you could be in the shower, you could be doing anything, and it suddenly just comes back in and hits you. But it's really important, I think. I mean, you know, I'm not saying you should cry over the cheese counter in Sainsbury's, but you know, maybe take yourself out into the car and have a good sob, you know. Let it out. Don't just I think you have to sort of take in that moment, get that memory. Obviously, if you feel yourself being upset, maybe you do walk out, maybe you do put your shopping thing down and you do walk out and you go into the car, or you go into a quiet area, you go into the toilet in Sainsbury's and you have a sob. You know, I think it's really important to let all these emotions out, because if you don't, and I think it's the same with any emotions in any area of life, if you push emotions down, if you push and push and push, I think it's like a jack in a box. I think you can push them all down like this, but eventually the pressure will be too much and they will go boom. And that's when people have complete breakdowns, because they have hidden and buried all these things for years, and you've got to let it out. But I think that's the thing. I think to say to anybody who's going through that grieving process, it takes time. Don't beat yourself up. Don't think at any point, I should be back to normal by now. I saw this great thing the other day it was an Instagram thing with post-its of what you shouldn't say to people when someone has lost someone. And it was things like, oh, they were 84. Well, they've lived a good life. Oh, they had a good innings. Oh, time will heal. Or say nothing. You know, you just have to go through the process in your own way. Feel it, live it. Don't rush it. Take everything on board and just go with it. You have to go with the flow. I think we've talked about this before. It's like going up a river. And if you go against the current, so much harder. If you just go with the current, so much easier. And if the current is taking you through pain and sorrow, you just have to go through that pain and sorrow, and you have to feel it, live it, do it. And eventually you'll get brighter days.
And there are those moments where it sort of comes home to you. And the first one, be it Mother's Day, be it Father's Day, it could be an anniversary when you got married. It could be, you know, we're talking about people, but it could be when you bought your pet, your beloved pet, and your pet's passed away. And, you know, these are all real, they're losses. And the first time is always really quite difficult. But I think what we need to do, like I think you said, you know, it's almost like turn it around, make it a celebration of life as much as you can. It's not easy, but maybe, and it depends how soon after that person's passed away or that thing's gone, that celebration comes. Can you actually, how you can deal with it? And maybe it's just to be quiet is enough. It's not just about people passing away. It is many things. It's about, the word is loss, and it's black and it's a void.
Yes. And it's about nourishing yourself. It's about nourishing yourself. So when you are, you know, your counterpart, when you start getting through the really searing pain of grief, when it becomes almost sporadic, where in the times when you're not in that deep-seated grief, that you can nourish yourself. And that's why it's really important to do nice things for yourself. Take a bath, have some nice food, you know, go for a walk in nature, ground yourself. you know, meet up with a friend and reach out to people, but just do nice things for yourself and take care of yourself. Or turn on a tea time tutorial and do a little arty exercise like we're going to do today.
We are.
Hopefully in there that has helped someone. If you've got any comments about what we've just said, or you know, you want to have a conversation, put it below and we will come back to you. So lovely, Gary. So I saw this exercise on Instagram, I think it was.
Yes.
And I just thought, you know, something that is perfect, because as you said, we've just literally gone through Father's Day, and then I saw this brief exercise, and so I just sent you a message and said, right, let's do that as our tea time tutorial. So let's do it. Let's bring in the cameras. Let's bring in your camera.
Let's put my glasses on. Right. Okay. So it was, yes. So we can't take complete credit for this. It was actually by if we go to Instagram, it's at untangledgrief.com. So it was just a sort of a visualization through painting, really, of how that grief, you know, how it dissipates over time. And I think sometimes by doing the artwork or doing the painting, it actually gives us an opportunity to stop, think, and actually, you know what? I am gradually getting over this loss. So I'm getting over it. I'm building around this loss. So I've got my paints here and I've got my paintbrushes as ever. I've just got a piece of paper. This is just almost like it's a cartridge paper, but you could use whatever paper you've got at hand, really. You could do this exercise on the back of an old envelope if you wanted to. If you haven't got any paints like this, maybe you've got some pencils. Maybe you've just got some colored pencils. You might have some felt tips or anything like that. You might even just have a pen. And it's just, really, it's about a visualization and building out from that central point. So if we think about, and as I've just mentioned, grief is, or loss is almost just like, no, I don't want that color. I'm going to do, I want is a dark, could be a dark black, it could be gray. But I think we need to visualize that loss in the middle of the page. So I'm just going to draw like a sort of a roundish sort of circle, quite black like that. So that's our visualization of loss. And it's all very dark and it's very, you know, it's just dragging us in. It's just not making us feel uplifted at all, which, you know, it's not. But what we gradually are going to do is we're going to build some colors around it. Now, Rachel, it's probably for you, is probably what have you done your little black dot here?
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so at first, grief, there is just maybe just little bits of hope. Maybe you just start going, maybe you return to work, or maybe you might have to start doing, maybe you've gone out to the shopping rather than just, you know, just functioning. Maybe you just, the first bit is actually you just start making a little sort of, a little difference. It might just a little pathway back to your, what we call a normality. Now, I think what's great about this exercise, I'm picking up a little bit of grey, so maybe it's just like a little bit, just putting a little circle around the outside like that. And it's
That's
just
so strange, Gary, because I've just done exactly the same before you did that. So
did you? So yeah, so it's almost as if it's still, you know, you're still in that sort of like the darkest time, but it's just, it's lifted slightly, or perhaps the way life treats us, sometimes we just have to start to function in some way. You know, it might be, you know, that we've got dependence on people that depend on us being able to function, maybe go out to work or go and get the shopping, cooking a meal or something like that. But it's just that little bit of a sort of like move forward. So that. So grey is quite a good color to use. But, you know, if for you, if you're doing this or going through this exercise and or you're just thinking about something you've lost, it could be that it wasn't this year, last year, it could be a couple of years ago or a few years ago, but you just want to sort of like visualize through it and just work your way through it and actually realize that you have moved on a lot. So grey, what colours are we going to do next? I'm going to just maybe like a sort of it could even be a sort of a slightly warmer, like a lighter browner colour, really.
Yeah,
it could be cool.
I'm
just trying to find a nice, it could be. And at the moment, I'm not making the colours too strong, just sort of like, at the moment, just sort of like a brown tone. And it doesn't matter that they sort of cross over and start to lingering to the next color, because actually that's fine, because it will sort of cross over. I remember what I said. I think it sort of ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. And sometimes, this what's in the center might become, again, could be like, oh my God, the black circle's back there, the black void's back there again. But it'll only just peek through. It'll only start to actually just peek through the layers. It's going to go back in because you've like moved on. Okay, next. I think we can afford to start to actually have a little bit more brighter colors. I think I'm going to just think maybe like a lightish, like a warmish color. So at this point we have a nice warm. I'm going to like this nice pink color, actually. I like a nice pink color. Sometimes it could be, sorry, Rachel, I was going to say, you're saying about things that sort of like jog your memory about something, and it could be music. Music is such a memory jogger.
Yes.
And but for me, music, it does bring in a memory, and you can get a little bit tearful sometimes, but it also reminds me of good times. It reminds me of parties and dancing or singing, or just could be just standing at the kitchen sink and just someone's having a little bit of a dance or being silly or something like that. So it's at that stage when you start hearing these little things, these little snippets coming through. It could be a snippet on the television or something like that, but it just maybe it's a nice warm feeling that it starts that, oh yes, that I have that lovely memory. That's really nice, So it's those sort of things that I think of that start to come through as well.
Yeah, and I think the idea behind this exercise, and as I say, we can't take credit, we saw it on their site, which we'll put a link to underneath, because on Instagram it's quite a nice little thing to go through. They just put a little poster for every day, not an art exercise, they just only had one on there, but they put up quotes and thoughts from people. Ooh, there's motorbike. They put up thoughts from people, but I think the idea behind this is that as we were saying, it's about processing that grief. It's about taking that time. And as you're doing this, you can be thinking about the person. As you say, you might add in their favorite colors, or you might just be adding colors in, to represent the things that you're doing in your life to continue.
Yeah.
So I think this exercise is great on all levels. It's a lovely little art exercise just to sort of, it's mindful. As you say, I love the idea of the colors bleeding into each other, because that's what happens in life. But I think also, as you say, it might start a memory off when you think about or something in your life. I think, like you say, music is a big thing, but colors as well, and whenever I see a man now in a blue checked shirt, and there are lots of, I always think of my dad, because he used to wear blue checked shirts all the time.
Really? So that's that, isn't it? And sometimes, I do think these things just come along and they just like trigger a memory, and you almost like you have to take a double take. You think, oh, is it there?
You do.
Yeah.
So I think this is the joy of this exercise. I mean, I've just got a very fine brush here. As we always say, you don't need expensive things here, and you're just literally painting circles, but it's such a calming and therapeutic thing to do. And if you are struggling in grief, I think sometimes we've said about nourishing yourself, but sometimes it can almost seem too difficult to arrange to see a friend or take yourself out shopping. Maybe you just need to sometimes sit on your own in peace in a room, doing something that is meditative, doing something that is calming, and this could be it.
I'm finding just using my brush, and I've got probably a slightly bigger brush, because I've in my little arty studio here, but I've got quite a nice sort of like whitish brush. In fact, I do like, I use these sort of wider flat brushes quite a lot. If you haven't, if you want to just maybe you want to create wider in one sort of like fair, like a stroke round the circle, is forget brushes, try a little bit of sponge, even like like your kitchen scouring sponge. If you just with a pair of scissors cut that off, dip that into your watery paint, and just use that to swipe round, that will give you just as much, just enough coverage as well. So that works quite nice also. But yeah, love it. And again, what you can do is, I think sometimes if you just sort of, you add the water. So we've done this technique before, just add the water. I'm finding actually just really nice just to follow that circle with my brush. I just think that's really quite nice. You have to concentrate and just go round and do that with the brush, and then I can go in with some colour. So I don't know what my outer circle is going to be. Or maybe I'm just thinking maybe a nice, not that it's everyone's favourite colour, but I quite like to add this green around the outside as well. So mine's become really quite a rainbow of colours, which again, I suppose is quite nice. And they always say, you know, when you see a rainbow on the sky, that's really a nice thing to see, because it radiates out from the page like that. Yeah.
Lovely. And
Very nice.
also as well, when you're doing your colours, you know, this is once again a positive thing, because I think you'll naturally find that you will want to use brighter colours as you're going around. And, you know, I think I've mentioned this before in one of our tea time tutorials, that around the time my dad died was when Richard D. Grant was doing his huge book tour, you know, where he talked about a pocket full of happiness, that his wife before said, you have to find a pocket full of happiness every day in your life when I've gone. And I think that's lovely. And I think this is, you know, finding that pocket full of happiness. But also when you're using those bright colours, you know, that's your happiness. You will find that happiness again. You will find pockets of it. You know, you're never, it's never, time is never going to take away that loss, and in some respects take away that pain. But I think you will learn.
Do you really want it? You don't want to take it away, because it is all part of life. It is part of them or the situation. So it has to remain in the, it has to stay there because it's all part of it. But it's about how you build from that. And you know, when I explained, you know, that if maybe we hadn't, you know, if I hadn't lost my mum, if I hadn't had lockdown, in fact, I would not be here with you today with a video camera above me talking to you, because it was all that scenario. One step led to another step, led to another step, for you meeting me, for us doing things on video. That, you know, so because of that in the middle, this is where I am today.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just about taking it a step at a
time. Exactly. Now yours has got much lighter now, so it's got, there's much more like bright, like lights coming from it. Really nice.
There you go. I'm done. I'll hold it up so we can see.
Yes, that's lovely. Beautiful. Yeah. Now, you know, you could take this everywhere you want to. I think we've done something a bit similar, just looking at putting maybe mantras and things like that, sort of words and things in it. But the words that I would suggest, if you want to write anything in it, could be words of how, or things or scenarios or things that have happened. If you're doing a reflective, this is like a bit, almost like a reflective process, and you're reflecting outwardly. It could be that, you know, it could be you remember something straight after the grief, then another thing or something else happened, an achievement, until you're getting onto these outer circles. And what that now, that's still you. That's your outer aura there that you're now projecting, because from what happened in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lovely.
I think as well, it's like a vortex, isn't it? And, you know, you can get sucked into that black hole. But, you know, yes, there's always this light around it. So, and I think also as well, this can be in memory of the person. As you just said, we're not trying to get rid of this person or the feelings of loss. They're in there. They're always going to be in there, but they're surrounded by lights. Like we say about the sky, there's always a blue sky. Sometimes it's just covered with clouds, but it's always there. Yes. So there you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Right. Let's bring us back into visione, it's a technical term. What a lovely exercise. Yes, just, you know, nothing too taxing, just very calming. And as I say, you can use this exercise for anything in your life. It doesn't have to be that you've not gone through a serious grief. It could be that you, as Gary said, you've left the job, or you're feeling bereft, or your child has left home, you know, the empty nest syndrome. It could be anything, a friend, you know, that you've lost, anything that you are feeling loss for in that moment. Honor that loss, remember it, but try and remember the good things and bring some positivity around it as well. Yes. There you go. Thank you so much, Gary, for that lovely exercise. And as I say, we will tag in the account below as well for the inspiration that we got from Instagram. And of course, there are lots of other exercises for you to do in our tea time tutorials. I know this one was potentially a little more subdued or heavier than our others. We have had crazy ones where we throw marbles around in pots and do all sorts of silly things. So do have a look around, because, you know, if you are feeling in that bit right now, have a look in the tea time tutorials and make something, do something, be creative, because I think you will feel a little better, if only for that 20 minutes. It's good to have that release. Right, we'll see you on the next one. Okay. Oh.